Welcome to Ministers Talking a weekly program where Rec BRZ and Rec Z and their guests chat about current affairs, world events, spiritual principles, and any old they want to talk about. Based on the new thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, Ministers Talking shares a visionary perspective of the evolving spiral called spiritual living. Join us each week as we explore the emerging paradigm of life on planet Earth and beyond.
And hello again, dear ones. Reverend Robert with you here.
Reverend Z on this end.
And we're a couple of ministers talking shit. A weekly program where we get an opportunity to get together and look at what's going on in the world. And today we're calling this episode Democracy on the Brink. Democracy on the Brink. I tell you, we've been having Z and I have been having this great discussion, and it goes over days and days and weeks. Today is usually just a wrap up of what we've been talking about this week. And boy, has there been a lot to talk about this week. We saw a very unique experience of what is supposed to be a debate on Wednesday night. Late last night, my social media feed blew up with the news that our president and first lady have been tested positive for the COVID-19. There's just so much going on. It's hard to kind of keep up with it all, isn't it, Z?
Yeah, it is. And, first and foremost, we want to wish a speedy recovery to the president and the first lady. And hopefully, there's minimal collateral. Hopefully, I know Holly Hope got tested positive well. And so excuse me, we wish anyone on his staff or whatever who may have contracted that to speedy recovery. But, as you said, when we look at the debate, if you could call it that, and if we look at all of the stirring the pot, if you will, around the selection of the Supreme Court judge and how people are pivoting and posturing on how that should happen, who that should be, so forth. We get to this point now where we have this government that is supposed to be a foundational structure that we use to build an environment, a community, a nation that is and justice for all.
Right.
And right now it's like two kids in the park fighting over the basketball.
And about 1 million people yelling, fight, fight,
right.
fight.
And so the whole principle of government, the whole idea of democracy seems not to be in play anymore. And now, as Robert was saying earlier, we're into this whole idea of the cult of personality.
Yeah.
And Robert said that so eloquent this morning. It was just like, where are we going with this? And what do you think, Robert?
I think we are on a slippery slope. I think we are on the brink of democracy. And one of the examples I can share with you is yesterday evening. There's a gentleman who has been a longtime member of a New Thought community, rather large New Thought community. Longtime member. We've been casual friends. We're not great friends. And the language that's showing up on his social media feed is almost scripted from QAnon.
Wow.
And he actually called out the New York Times yesterday as fake news.
Wow.
No matter which way you bend, right? No matter which side of the quote aisle you think you stand on at the moment, we're going to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
But no matter where you think you are, generally up until about 4.5, 5 years ago, you never heard the word fake news in the New York Times in the same sentence. Now, this fairly educated person that I believe is fairly educated, always seemed to have fairly, not necessarily conservative or liberal views, but had consistent views, is suddenly out there publicly shaming people and telling people that they're wrong. And it's all based on the fact that somebody told him the New York Times is fake news. And among other things.
Yeah. And that's, when you think about it, we've talked on an earlier program. We talked about truth decay and how media has begun to play a larger part in our lives and shaping our views and ideas, right, wrong, or indifferent. And so now, when we are at this point where our government is kind of teetering, and people's belief systems are being challenged, people's actions in terms of how you go about delivering a particular thing, whatever that is. And so now we're at this point to where everybody is in peril, it seems. Everybody's afraid of who's going to be in the office, who's not, what's going to happen if someone's in there. And those are the kinds of things that tear down a democracy, because fear is a killer. It will make you do things that you wouldn't normally do, or do things out of desperation based on, as the saying goes, false evidence appearing real. And so that's where we are. So we've also talked about being personally responsible. And that's what this takes. We have to begin to understand the type of democracy we have, the three different branches of government that we have, how they work, and begin to be active in that process, not just sit back and be a bystander.
Right. Yes. It it comes back to a quote, folks, by Plato that I'm going to probably paraphrase badly here, right? But the penalty for being uninterested or uninvolved in politics is to be governed by a lesser man. The penalty we pay, all of us, by not being involved, not being interested, saying that, oh, that's not spiritual. Bull. Everything's spiritual. And aren't we here to bring spirituality to those places that right now don't seem to have anything going for them? We say, Z and I have been doing a lot of digging this morning, right? There's various forms of government, various forms of democracy, and if we look at it, we really are right now. And well, what I learned this morning, right, that the common theme in all of that is a democracy has to have human involvement, people's involvement.
Yes.
Now, we have adopted a form of representative democracy where we elect representatives to go and work together to represent our views. If that is so, then what's happening in our government, what's happening in Congress, what's happening in the Senate, what's happening in our judiciary, what's happening is a direct reflection of the collective consciousness of this planet.
Yes.
If that is true, I think we got some shit to work on. Because collectively, we don't know what we want. As a nation, I believe we have so lost touch with each other that we have no clue what we want. We wanted freedom from Britain to start with, right? We did have a collective vision, but that's pushing over 200 some odd years, 225, 200, whatever years ago, we had a collective vision. Does the country have a collective vision moving forward? I don't know.
And I think as we just, the foundation of us making the government work and understanding it and get involved is to understand that the government is made up of three branches. There's the legislative branch, there's the judicial branch, and then there's the executive branch. The legislative branch make the laws, the judicial interprets the laws, and the executive executes or carries out the laws. And now, a lot of people say, the things you don't talk about is politics and religion, right? Which also kind of means people don't really get involved too much, right? And so, right. But from the political side, for us, the common people, i.e. those who are not already in that process of governing or making it or implying it, we have to be involved, especially at the legislative level. That's where the individuals can talk to their representatives, can go and join community boards, they can go and join advisory boards, and of course, ultimately, they can actually run for local office and begin to help shape, put your input, put your ideas out or disapprovals of something so that this machine works the way it's supposed to by representative of the people and the people we elect to represent us to carry that out. And if they don't, then we replace them.
Yes. And then we replace them because, we've talked about that a little bit on this program before too. And folks, I want you to know the original intent behind this program was not to sit around and talk about politics every Friday morning. And we've got plenty of shows in our archives where we're not talking about politics. But what we've always consistently done is attempt to bring you a discussion around what's really real, what's going on in the world, what we can't deny. And for far too long, far too many people, from my perspective, have gone down the road of ignoring and denying politics. And I'll admit it, I've been one of them. Many, many, many years ago, someone looked at me and said, "Man, you ever thought about going into politics?" And I just about reached back and punched him. It was in my early days as a religious scientist. I didn't know what I do now. But I was like, I rolled over. I was just like, no way in the world am I going into that. Those people are mean.
Yeah.
Those people don't play nice. Those people don't play according to my rules. They don't play fair. And I think that's a big part of what we're seeing right now. This
Yeah.
whole year has been about, and you've heard me and Zelzia talking about this whole past year has been about the crumbling and the releasing of so many systems and so many organizations and so much that just isn't serving us any longer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think this presidential election is a direct reflection of that as well. This
Yes.
this form of what we're doing does not appear to be working very well any longer because we are left with a choice. And I've been saying this my whole life. I have voted for the lesser of two evils in pretty much every presidential election that I've been a part of. Mostly because I was either a little too young or just a little too disinterested to vote for Jimmy Carter.
Yeah.
Happy
And
birthday, Jimmy. By the way, yesterday was Jimmy's 98th, I think it was, right?
wow.
The man's pushing 100 years old.
Wow.
So, uh,
And
the first,
you know what that brought to mind when you said that. I when you said that, I flashed back to the debate, right? And now when you look at politics and governing, period, right? The art of debate was key to that process. You know, that the whole idea of getting on the stump, right, was characterized by different parties or different people getting out in the public and articulating and debating or defending or giving people an idea of what they believe in terms of governing, how to do it, and the consequences of it. And when I look back at the debates on Wednesday, I got none of that. There was very little information about how either candidate would 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 govern or address issues or anything like that. I mean, there was some, but it was very little because of the constant disruption and name calling and you know someone from another planet would have came and saw that and they would have said, "What in the heck is going on?" And I see why we are in trouble on this planet. Because we're supposed to be trying to inform the people so they can make informed, educated decisions. And right now, between the fake news and the ineffective debates and the way that the media and social media are crafting news and tweets and posts and all that stuff just to further isolate you in your own little world, is causing a world of hurt.
yeah. I saw a meme going around Thursday or Tuesday, Wednesday morning, whatever, the next morning, right? It's the emperor wears no clothes type of meme. And as you're saying, right, the emperor has no plan. And that's part of what I saw on that debate was there's no there's no plan in charge. Specifically from one side, from our president. I didn't hear a single word the entire evening about other than, oh yeah, I'll do that. Oh yeah, I'll do that. Oh yeah, well, no, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna tell the white nationalists. I'm not gonna tell the supremacists they're wrong or to stop. I'm gonna tell them to get ready. But we haven't heard a substantive conversation about what it's going to take to move our country from where we are into a new vision, into the next expression of what we're here to be. I think there's a plan. I know that when I go to one candidate's website, I see a plan laid out before I see merchandise, and on a different candidate, I see merchandise before I see it, and I can't find a plan.
Right.
Right? We've entered into this cycle of constant, never-ending campaigning,
Yeah.
and very little governance.
Yeah. When does that happen? And this whole, you made me think of this, and when you were saying that, right now we have this separation of church and state, right? And I get that, right? Because that would make it even more problematic, because then the question will come, well, which church, right? But as a religious scientist, my mind goes to, well, what about throwing some spirituality in there, some humanity in there, which is supposed to be in there already, right? I mean, the whole system was based on equal access to practice your faith and so forth and so on. Those things have gone almost totally out of the window. But if we begin to have politics that is surrounded by a spiritual perspective, meaning we look at life as sacred in terms of allowing people to express their faith and articulate their faith, as long as they're not causing death or damage, to allow people to express themselves, to look at humanity as a global family, and we make laws and enact certain programs to support that. That's not what happens now.
Right.
It's very bipartisan. I'm gonna do for mine, I don't care about yours.
Yeah. And that selfishness of, like you just said, I'm gonna do for mine, I don't care about yours. Seems a little strange to me, however, that the richest senator in America happens to live in one of the poorest states. So perhaps that doesn't actually trickle down. I got mine, but to heck with you.
Right.
But that seems to me, right, here we are, term limits again, because I don't believe politics was ever meant to be a lifelong position. I don't think the founding fathers ever thought that anything other than the Supreme Court was meant to be a lifelong position. But we've gotten to the point where there are far too many people that look at public service as an avenue to Easy Street.
Right.
I go get elected a senator, and it don't matter whether I'm effective or not. It doesn't matter if I last a week, a month, 6 years, or 60 years. As long as I get into that office, I'm pretty well set. I'm going to be able to, whatever it is.
Yep.
And farther up the chain, more so.
Yeah.
So is it time to really take a deep dive look at where the evolution of democracy is going?
Yeah, I think it is. And, part of the challenge, when I grew up, we had civics and we had a whole class on government, right? And we tore the thing down. And back in my time, there was this, we also looked at communism and kind of compared and contrasted too, kind of looking at the different forms of government and such. And I don't think now that civics is, as a general topic, is being taught. I know we're doing history, and we talk a little bit about in history, and there may be some of it that's coming up in social studies, and I must admit I haven't gone and looked at the latest curriculum. But I think in general, the whole thing about government and how it works and how you get in is not being taught. And if it is, it's definitely not being taught effectively, in my opinion. And what we need, we have to begin, I believe, to look at a government as the Constitution says, for the people and by the people.
Yes.
And right now, except for a few cases, it appears that government and running it and participating in it is for kind of an elite kind of person, whether it's elite monetarily or educationally or militarily. I mean, that's what it seems like. And we need average people who understand the average concerns of the day-to-day participants of this society to get a voice.
Yep. I absolutely agree, right? And we've been talking on this show, you've heard us say it, vote once, but vote, right? And don't just vote the party. Do your time, do your due diligence, read the book that comes in the mail. I spent an hour yesterday reading the positions for some of the ballot measures here in Colorado, to do the work and be involved. Be involved. There are countless ways, folks, that you can get involved in community boards and advisory councils, and more local, small, independent city, state governments are creating ways for people to be involved. Because unfortunately, I think the alternative is far worse. I think the alternative to not being involved is what we have right now.
Right.
And what we have right now is somebody, in my opinion, that's here to take advantage of the American public and to fleece us for every dollar he can get his hands on. He's draining our pocketbooks. Yeah. So we've got to, I believe, get out there and find one of our rally cries. What is yours to do? And I don't believe that just sitting on the courthouse steps, sitting on the city steps and shouting and yelling that we want change is enough anymore.
Right.
I'm not discounting that. That's valid. But we also have to get involved. I want to give a shout out here. We had a comment a little while back from our dear friend Michelle Wadley that said, yes, religious science moles in government. Absolutely. Right. And I know we can do it because we did it in Hollywood. 20 years ago, when I first got involved with this philosophy, I didn't hear anything on TV and the movies. I didn't hear anything that resembles this philosophy of New Thought, of science of mind, of religious science. And today you can't watch anything without hearing it somewhere.
Right.
Little bits here. So we got into Hollywood. We made it. And there's religious science moles all over Hollywood, in writers' rooms and production rooms everywhere. We can do the same thing in government.
Yeah. And
what would it look like what would it look like to have a truly spiritual democracy 20 years from now?
Yeah. And we have to take that old religious science adage of Ernest Holmes that says, treat and move your feet. Yes, we pray, we study, we read, we discuss ideas, and we get all of that stuff in place. And then we have to move. We have to take action. We have to get off the, off the editing room, if you will, taking that Hollywood thing. And we have to actually show a film. We have to get this thing rolling, because just having a script and a plot and all that, but no action and no filming, not going to happen. Not going to happen.
Exactly. So we have an opportunity, folks. We are, to answer our question, are we at the brink of democracy? Absolutely. But I don't think that we have to jump over the cliff. And I don't think we have to just chase someone. I was about to say something that I don't know that I should, but I don't think we have to just chase or follow someone else over the cliff.
Yeah, like the lemons, right? The lemons jumping off the cliff.
Yes, exactly. Uh, because I mean, we got proof last night that if we're not working together, no one is immune.
Right,
The
right.
one person in this country that has every resource, that has has no excuse for letting this thing be caught, for the one person that should be the most protected from this disease is tested positive. There's
Yeah,
no question. And that's because we don't act like we're all in this together.
right.
We act like it's a me against you, you against him. And my final word today is we got to listen. We got to listen to each other. We got to listen to ourselves. We got to listen to spirit, but we got to start listening to what others are trying, not just what they're yelling at us, but we got to start listening for the cause behind all of this.
Yeah, 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 yeah. We have to be, the ultimate, I think, starting point is we have to begin to treat and act like all life is sacred,
Yeah.
right? Because if you look at all life as being sacred, and that there's an interconnection, there's a symbiotic relationship between all elements of life on this planet and in the universe, even, we would begin to think twice about doing some things and or how we enacted things, because we know there's a balance that when one life gets in trouble, it starts affecting all life. And so whether you're a certain party or a certain religion or a certain culture or a certain location, it's all connected and all life is sacred. And when we can do that, then we can begin to get a politics that has a more long range vision as opposed to short range.
Mm.
Because we do things now for expedience of the short range that not that well, let me put it this way. Cause and effect are not always closely related. And so we think that they are. We think there's an immediacy. If I put something in, there's going to be a cause and effect that's right away. You can put a cause and effect right now or in motion right now, and the effect is not seen to many years later. And just one example of that is Agent Orange. They dropped Agent Orange in Vietnam to kill all the foliage to help fight a battle. And then 10 years, 15 years later, they found out that stuff is cancer forming and all kind of other stuff. But they didn't have the they didn't have the long range vision of that cause and effect.
Right. Exactly. Uh, yes. So, folks, we're about that point. We want to wrap this up. We want to wrap this up really where we started, with sending our prayers, our best wishes to our president and first lady. Um, there is news overnight that they have tested positive for COVID-19, and um, this philosophy that Z's talking about, right? That all life is sacred. That's all life. That's Mitch McConnell, and that's the senators you do agree with and the senators you don't agree with, the people
Mm-hmm.
that do represent your beliefs and the people that aren't representing your beliefs, because an eye for an eye, and we know how that works out. We have to be agents of transformation. We have to be agents of love. And I believe now more than ever is the call, the real big calling that's happening is for all of us to be involved.
Yeah, yeah, we have to, and this is a perfect scenario that says nobody's immune from life and all the ups and downs and things of life. If you're on the planet playing the game, you're susceptible to any and everything going on. So let's act like that and let's play the game like that, if you will, so that we can continue to play the game as long as we can.
Yep. Yeah. All right, folks, we have run out of time here. So let's shout out, do a quick thank you to the New Thought Media Network and everyone over there that makes this possible, that brings this show to you. There's a subscription link in a way to subscribe to our newsletter in the description of this video. and this presentation. And there's also a donation link. So thank you for your love, your contribution, your gifts, your tithes, your offerings. Your financial support keeps this broadcast and all the broadcasts that we have going on. We've got over 15 hours of live broadcasting every week now, and we're so grateful that you're here and being a part of it. So please share this with a friend. How is it, Z? Share it with a...
Tell a friend to tell another friend to come on in.
Yeah, there we go. Tell a friend to tell a friend. So I'm Rec BRZ.
I'm Rec Z.
We'll be back again next week with more Ministers Talking Shit. Till then, peace and blessings.
Love, light, and insight.
And thanks for listening to this week's episode of Ministers Talking. We'll be back again next week with more commentary on current affairs, world events, and any other our ministers want to talk about. And if you found value here, please share our with your friends. Until next time, peace and blessings.